Hello everybody, this is Pastor Green. We're doing another Bible study, 1 Corinthians chapter 7. If you'd like me to come speak at your church, or if you have any questions, you can email me at godsohman@gmail.com. So I want to start this off by saying that most games, most fights, even wars have rules. And someone to judge, a referee, to make sure the rules are followed. And they also have a penalty for those who don't follow the rules. For instance, the knife fight with Butch Cassidy, if you remember. Even martial arts have rules. Football has rules. Even wars have rules. You know, what is the international humanitarian law? Hockey has rules. It's one of the most violent sports out there, and even they have rules. Kickboxing has rules. You know, you can't hit below the belt. You have to make sure you hit the face. Kickboxing, no, everything has to be above the waist. You can't hit in the genital areas. Football has rules. You got to make sure you score, penalties, things like that. It all has rules. Basketball even has rules. But see, marriage has rules too. We got to make sure that when we get married, we follow those rules. The Christian marriage vow says, I take you to be my wife or husband, to have and to hold from this day forward, for better or worse, for richer or poor, in sickness and in health, to love and to cherish till death do us part, according to God's holy law. This is my solemn vow. If somebody gets sick, you stay with them. If somebody is poor, you stay with them. For better or for worse, from now until forever. This is a covenant with God. In Genesis 1, as a refresher, God said, let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let him have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowls of the air, over the cattle, and over all the earth, and of every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth. And so God created a man out of his own image, and in the image of God created he him. Male and female created he them. And God blessed them, and God said unto them, be fruitful, and multiply, and replenish the earth, and subdue it, and have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over every living thing that moveth upon the earth. God told them to be fruitful, and multiply, and replenish the earth. This is the first command God gave to Adam and Eve. It was to make babies. And the greatest drive of every male of every species, from termites to whales, is to fulfill that commandment. Genesis 4. And Adam knew his wife, and she conceived. The idea is that Adam and Eve was told to fulfill the earth. And now you can see we have trillions of people upon the earth now, because God told Adam and Eve, be fruitful and multiply. In Revelation 19 it says, let us be glad and rejoice, and give honor to him, for the marriage of the Lamb has come, and his wife has made herself ready. And it was to her granted that she should be arrayed in fine linen, clean and white, for the fresh linen of the righteous of saints. You see, the goal of every Christian is to go to heaven. And in heaven, we are God's bridegroom. We are going to marry God. I don't really understand how that's going to work, but that's the purpose. In Revelation 19, it says, and he said unto me, right blessed are they which are called into the marriage supper of the Lamb. And he saith unto me, these are the true sayings of God. You see, when the rapture happens, we're going to go to heaven, and we're going to be part of the marriage supper of the Lamb. So we're going to start on 1 Corinthians 7. Now concerning the things whereof he wrote unto me, it is good for a man not to touch a woman. Nevertheless, to avoid fornication, let every man have his own wife, and let every woman have her own husband. God's saying that it's good not to fornicate. So he created marriage, as you can see in Adam and Eve. He created marriage. That way, man and woman can fulfill their sexual desires, and be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth. Let the husband render unto the wife due benevolence, and likewise unto the wife unto their husband. So it's saying that husbands and wives are supposed to take care of each other. But what does the word benevolence mean? It's a quality of being well-meaning or kindness. You're supposed to treat each other properly. It says here, a disposition to do good, an act of kindness, a generous gift, a complimentary contribution of a tax levied by certain English kings with no other authority and a claim of prerogative. So it's basically saying that you're going to do everything you can to take care of your partner. It's a generous gift. It's an act of kindness. It's something that you're going to do to be nice to somebody else. Other synonyms for it is altruism, kindness, feeling, compassion, anonymity, friendship, generosity, comforting, and friendship. Let the husband render unto his wife due benevolence, and likewise unto the wife to the husband. The wife has no power of her own body, but the husband, and likewise also the husband has no provider of his own body, but the wife. It's saying that husbands, you cannot deny yourself to your wife. Wives, you cannot deny yourself to your husband. You're now one body. You're supposed to fulfill each other's needs. So if you go back to Genesis 1, so God created man in his own image. In the image of God created he him. Male and female created he them. And God blessed them, and God said unto them, be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth and subdue it. God's telling them, I created you guys to be intimate, to have babies, to replenish the earth. This is in Genesis 9. And God blessed Noah and his sons, and said unto them, be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth. Again, God's telling everybody, have babies, be married. And the greatest drive of every male of every species is to fulfill God's command to multiply. You can see all these different animals are fighting each other so they can have the lady. Even the seals and walruses and whales do it. Here's some buffaloes here. It is the greatest desire of every male to spread his seed. And sometimes males get so worked up because they want to spread their seed, they fight. Sometimes they cheat. Sometimes they do things that doesn't seem normal to people. You see, the man wants to spread his seed, so he has to find a mate. Even crabs. It says here, defraud ye not the other, except to be for consistent of a time, that it may be give yourself to fasting and prayer and come together again, that Satan tempt you, not for your inconsistency. But I speak of this by permission and not by commandment. God's saying that a husband and wife should not deny themselves each other. If a husband wants to be intimate with his wife, the wife should let him. If the wife wants to be intimate with her husband, he should let him. You shouldn't deny each other, except for a time. If you say, I'm not feeling good today, we're not going to do it, and you both agree, that's fine. But see, you have to set a time. Maybe a week from now, we're going to be intimate again. Or maybe there's some kind of an injury or something preventing it from happening. You agree, you postpone it, that's fine. Fasting and prayer. We're going to go ahead and fast and pray for a week so we're not going to be intimate together. That's fine. But when you deny each other, Satan's going to tempt your marriage, not for your consistency. God wants you to be happy. He wants you to be married. And when you're married, you're supposed to be together. But Satan knows the man's drive, so he's going to tempt you. He's going to bring other ladies to walk past you. There's going to be things on TV. There's going to be different things you're going to see that's going to tempt you. And God doesn't want that. The word defraud means to circumvent, to victimize, to con, to bamboozle, deceive, beguile, dupe, burn, embezzle, chouse, fleece, chip, rob, chosen, swindle, delude. It's to bamboozle somebody, to get one over on them. We don't want to do something like that. Defraud, it's an illegal obtaining of money from someone by deception. That's what most people have heard of. But look at this one. To deprive of something by deception or fraud. When you marry, you commit yourself to providing for your physical needs of your husband or wife for the rest of your life. If you've had a huge steak dinner and got completely stuffed to the gills, soon you'll be hungry again. So yeah, just because you let your partner be intimate with you and you think that's done, they're going to want to do it again later. When you marry, you commit yourself to providing for the financial needs of your husband and wife for the rest of your life. I've never met a woman who understands, nor have I met a man who did not understand why the flame keeps lighting again. But just obey the Lord, don't defraud at all, and it'll be fine. It says, defraud ye not one to the other. except to be with consent for a time, that it may give yourself to fasting and prayer and come together again, that Satan tempt you not for your inconsistency, but speak this by permission and not by commandments. What does this word mean? Inconsistent. It basically is the quality or state of being inconsistent, such as the inability of the body to control or evacuate functions of urination or defecation, partially or complete loss of bladder or bowel control. But look at B. Failure to restrain sexual appetite. If a guy wants to be intimate, it's just going to continue to grow and grow and grow and grow. And 99% of guys are able to accept that and to deal with that. But there's some guys that once it gets to a certain point, they're going to start looking outside their marriage. And God doesn't want that. That's why He set up this idea of marriage, that you don't hold yourself from each other. See, here's the first one here. The ability to control a body part. But the second one's more important in this sense. The failure to restrain sexual appetite. You don't want to be inconsistent and not be able to go to the bathroom. The warning against adultery. If you look at Proverbs 5, it talks about, warning against adultery. It says, "My son, attend to my wisdom, and bow thy ear to my understanding, that thou mayest regard discretion, and that my lips may keep knowledge. For the lips of a strange woman drop as a honeycomb, and her mouth is smoother than oil. But her end is bitter as wormwood, sharp as a two-edged sword. Her feet go down to death, and her steps take hold on hell. Lest these shoulders ponder the path of life, her ways are immovable, that you should not know them. Hear me thou therefore, O children, and depart not from the words of my mouth." He's saying that you look at this girl and you go, wow, look how beautiful she is. Look at how nice her body is. Her lips look so soft. I want to go over there and kiss her. I want to touch her. And it looks like it's a promising good thing. But if you concede to that, you're going to find out that it's a horrible decision. It's not what you thought it was going to be. And now you're on your way to hell because of it. Proverbs 5 says, "Drink waters out of thine own cistern, and running waters out of thine own well. Let the fountains be dispersed abroad, and the rivers of waters in the streets. Let them not only be thine own, and not strangers with thee." He's saying, don't take your friends' waters. Don't take your neighbor's waters. Use your own water. Use your own cisterns. Because they're going to all of a sudden want yours. So you always have to have your own. Let the fountains be blessed, and rejoice with the wife of thy youth. Let her be as a loving hen in pleasant roe. Let her breast satisfy thee all times, and be thou ravished always with her love. It's saying that you have to treat your woman a certain way, so she's always going to be there for you, because she's what you need. She's what you want. There isn't a bull on this planet that shows any interest in the cow's udder. But there isn't a normal human man on the planet that doesn't have an interest in the female mammary glands, even long after they've been weaned. There isn't an ape on the planet that shows any interest in the female mammary glands after they're weaned. But there isn't a normal human man on the planet that does not have interest in the female mammary glands even long after they've weaned. There isn't a dog on the planet that shows any interest in the female mammary glands after they're weaned. There isn't a hamster on the planet that shows any interest in the female's mammary glands after they've weaned. But there isn't a normal human male on the planet that does not have an interest in the female mammary glands even long after they're weaned. You don't need hundreds of thousands of partners to be satisfied. You only need one, and you can have her for life. Remember Proverbs 5? Let thy fountains be blessed, and rejoice with our wife of their youth. Let her be as loving and hind and pleasant roe. Let her breast satisfy thee all the times, and thou ravish the ways of her love. Here's John and Ann Better. This is their 85th anniversary. That's a long time. This is a 107-year-old Karma and his wife Katrina, 100 years old. And they're proof that happily ever after does exist. The couple who have 8 children and 28 grandchildren together. They've lived in wedded bliss for 87 years, making them the world's longest married couple. The pair says the key to their success is looking after each other in every way possible. My trick is to make her laugh. I like to tell jokes and make her smile. Being funny is my way of being romantic. 1 Corinthians 7, verse 5. Defraud ye not one another, except to be with consent for a time, that ye may give yourself to fasting and prayer, and come together again, so that Satan doesn't tempt you for your inconsistency. But I speak this by permission and not by commandment. For I would that all men are even as myself. But every man has his proper gift from God, one after this manner, and another after that. I say therefore to the unmarried and widows, it is good for them if they are abide even as I. You see, Paul's saying, I wish everybody was single like I am. I really believe that Paul was married once, but he's no longer married now. He doesn't have that woman that he has to report to all the time. He's free to do what he wants. And he's saying that he wishes everybody had what I have, because now he can fully serve God whenever he wants. He doesn't have to ask permission. He doesn't have to make sure that his family's taken care of, because it's just him. But if they cannot contain, let them marry. For it is better to marry than to burn. And unto the married I command thee, not I, but the Lord. Let not the wife depart from her husband. He's saying that if you can't control your sexual needs, it's better to get married than to burn. There's some people that have a hard time holding on to that. Don't have fornication. Go get married. And he's telling the married couple, let not the wife depart from her husband. You know that 80% of marriages in America is initiated by the woman? But if she depart, let her remain unmarried, or be reconciled with her husband. And let not the husband put away his wife. He's saying if she leaves, hopefully she stays single. Hopefully she doesn't try to remarry again. Because if she does, that's called adultery. And the husband, don't put his wife away. Leave that door open because she might come back. Unless, of course, she passes away. But to the rest I speak, not to the Lord. If any brother has a wife that he believeth not, and she is pleased to dwell with him, let him not put her away. So if you're in a relationship and the man stops caring about the wife, don't divorce her. Still live together because she takes care of you. She wants to stay with you. She wants to be with you. Maybe the spark will come back again. And if the woman which has a husband that believeth not, and he is pleased to dwell with her, let her not leave him. For the unbelieving husband is sanctified by the wife, and the unbelieving wife is sanctified by the husband. Else were your children unclean, but now they are holy. It's saying that if you are unsaved and your partner is saved, stay together. Maybe the fact that you're saved, you'll rub off on your partner and they'll eventually get saved. Not to mention, if there's kids involved, they're going to see this. You have to have two parents. But if the unbelieving depart, let him depart. A brother or a sister is not under bondage in such cases, but God has called us to peace. I think what it's saying here that if you're an unbeliever and you leave your believing spouse, you chose to leave. You're not under bondage anymore, and God has called us to be peaceful. We're not gonna throw a temper tantrum and fight. If the unbelieving person wants to leave, then that's their choice. Luke 24 says, Then arose Peter and ran to the sepulchre, and sleeping down, and behold, the linen clothing lay by itself, and departed, wondering in himself at which is come to pass. And behold, two of them went the same day to a village called Esmus, and a certain of them which were with us went to the sepulchre, and found that even so the woman had said, but saw it not. And he said unto them, O fools, and slow of heart to believe all the prophets have spoken. Ought not Christ have suffered these things and entered into his glory? See, Peter ran to the tomb and saw Jesus wasn't there anymore, just like the woman said. It's saying you're slow of heart to believe. God told you all these things was going to happen, and yet you didn't believe it. See, God told us to be fruitful and multiply and replenish the earth. God told us not to fornicate, because if you fornicate, you're not going to heaven, you're going to go to hell. See, Christians are going to stay together the best they can. They're going to fight and tooth and nail to be together. 1 Corinthians 7, verse 16. For what knowest thou, O wife, whether thou shalt save thy husband? Or how knowest thou, O man, whether they shall save his wife? He's saying that if they're unbelieving, you got to stay together, because you might rub off on them and get them saved as well. You don't know. But if you just give up on it, you're never going to know. But as God has distributed to every man, and the Lord has called every one, so let him walk. And so ordain I in all churches. Is any man called be uncircumcised? Let him not be uncircumcised. Is any called uncircumcision? Let him not be circumcised. He's saying don't worry about trivial things, whether you're circumcised or not. Just worry about the gospel. Circumcision is nothing. And uncircumcision is nothing, but the keeping of the commandments of God. Let every man abide the same calling where he was called. He says, it doesn't matter if you're circumcised or not. See, the Jews took huge stress. You have to be circumcised. But then later in the church, you look in Acts, Paul brought Gentiles. He says you don't gotta follow the same bondage the Jews did. Jews have this belief you have to be circumcised. Some people don't have it. But it doesn't matter if you're circumcised or not. Do what God told you to do and follow Christ. Is thou art called being a servant? Care not for it. But if thou mayest be made free, use it rather. For he that is called to the Lord being a servant is the Lord's free man. Likewise, he that is called being free is Christ's servant. He's saying that if you're free and you can deal with not having to worry about sexual stuff, follow God with everything you possibly can because you're free. You could come and go as you please. You don't have to worry about it. But later he's going to talk about being married, that you have somebody else you have to take care of. Your wife and children are important. You still have to follow God first, but now you also have different duties you have to follow. Ye are brought with a price, but ye not the servants of men. Brethren, let every man whereas he is called therefore abide with God. Now concerning virgins, I have no commandment of the Lord, yet I give my judgment, as one that has obtained mercy in the Lord to be faithful. I suppose therefore that it is a good for the present distress. I say that it is a good for a man, so be it, so to be. He's saying that if you're a virgin, that's great. Follow God. People that have actually been intimate, they want a lot more than people that haven't been intimate. So that's actually a good thing. Art thou bound unto a wife? Seek not to be loosed. Art thou loosed from a wife? Seek not a wife. But if thou wilt marry, has that not sinned? If a virgin marries, she has not sinned. Nevertheless, shall she have trouble in the flesh, but I spare you. He's saying real simple. If you're married, you're not sinning because you're allowed to be intimate. But if you're a virgin, and you haven't sinned, that's fine. But see, once you have that first act of intimacy, you're going to have the trouble in the flesh. So the only way to avoid having that trouble is to be married, so that way you can be intimate with your partner. But this I say, brethren, the time is short, it remaineth, that both have wives as though they had none, and that they have weep, and that they have weep not, that they rejoice as though they rejoice not, and they buy as though they possess not. He's saying the time is short. If you're married, love your wife and love God. If you're not married, serve God with all your heart. Just time is short. You have to follow God no matter what, though. And they that use this world is not abusing it, for the fashion of the world passes away. But I would have you without carefulness, that he is unmarried careth for the things that belong to the Lord, now that he that pleases the Lord. But he that is married careth for the things that are of the world, now that he pleases his wife. There is a difference also between a wife and a virgin. The unmarried woman careth for the things of the Lord, that she may be holy both body and in spirit. But she that is married careth for the things of the world. How should she please her husband? He's basically saying that if you're single and not married, you could serve God with all your heart, soul, mind, and strength. You can come and go as you please. You can do whatever you want. But once you get married, you got to take your spouse and your kids into consideration. You're kind of bound now to take care of them. You can serve God when you can, but you also have to take care of your family. There's nothing wrong with being married. It's not a sin to be married. It's just saying you don't have as much time for God now because you have to take care of your family. And this I speak with your own profit, not that I may cast a snare upon you, but that which is comely, that we may attend upon the Lord without discretion. But if any man think that he hath behaved himself uncomely towards his virgin, if she pass the flower of her age, and need so require, let him do it with a will. He sinneth not, let them marry. He's saying that if you find somebody, you're attracted to them, don't let it be a distraction. Ask her to marry you. If she says yes, you're fine. But if not, then so be it. If you marry the girl, you didn't sin. Nevertheless, he that standeth steadfast in his heart, having no necessity, but has power over his own will, and has so decreed in his heart that he will keep his virgin, doeth well. So then, he that giveth her in marriage doeth well, but he that giveth her not in marriage doeth better. So he's saying if you're a virgin, that's great. Serve God. Don't worry about all these different things. But if you feel like you have to be intimate with somebody, go get married. It's real simple. The wife is bound by the law as long as her husband liveth. But if her husband be dead, she is at liberty to be married to whoever she will, only in the Lord. But she is happier if she so abide after my judgments. And I think also that I have the Spirit of God. He's saying that if you're a woman or a man, it doesn't really matter, and you're married, you're bound to that person for the rest of your life. If they pass away, you can go find another husband or wife. But you have to stay married to the person while you're alive. If they pass, you can move on to somebody else. But you have to be married in the Lord. You can't just go out and have fornicate. You have to be married again. Well, guys, that's the video. I appreciate you guys watching. If you have any questions, you can email, you can comment below. But I put a couple links on the screen. The bottom right corner is going to be the 1 Corinthians Bible study. The top left corner is going to be the Luke Bible study. Below that's going to be a video that YouTube thinks you guys are going to like. I appreciate you guys watching. Make sure you like and subscribe. And if you know somebody that might like this, share it with them. And I'd love to see a comment down there if you have one. I'll talk to you the next time. Have a great day.